Disrespected by my wife's friend and she doesn't want to address it. What should I do? My wife, 39 female, and youngest daughter were at lunch when an old friend, Josh, 39 male, of my wife's showed up at the restaurant they were eating in. She said hi to him while he ordered, caught up briefly, then she sat down with our 10-year-old. She says he came over after he ordered and proceeded to sit and eat with them. I've had a personal problem with him for nearly 20 years because of how he has treated me throughout our relationship, ignoring me in conversation, will not acknowledge that I'm even present, but always being fun and very friendly with her. I have operated under her request that I don't start problems for her, whether with family or friends. I have respect her wishes there, with him, others, and her family. Even when they break her fucking heart, she has wanted me to stay out. I have. She didn't tell me about the encounter with him. The encounter was insignificant to her, but meant enough to her for it to cause her to question whether I would be upset. So she told me a few days later. I had been awake for less than 5 minutes. She was acting strangely, and before she even said hi or good morning, she immediately went into, I don't want it to be a thing. There wasn't anything to it. I just wanted to let you know that we had lunch with Josh. She then explained what that meant, just as I explained above. I processed it for a little while and then realized that it was affecting me very, very poorly mentally, and that I was not able to function for the things that I needed to do in the morning because I was so distracted by it. So I told her how I was feeling and what it made me feel like to have another man that I don't like and don't approve of having lunch with my wife and my daughter without my knowledge and have it forgotten and then delivered the way it was. It felt really odd and felt not as genuine as she normally is in awkward situations with me. She was immediately defensive, not curious, not apologetic, not confused, defensive. Flags are going up everywhere for me. What really is happening? We got into a very long argument about how he makes me feel. Essentially, my view of his behavior towards me was incorrect, wrong. He's just awkward in social situations, she said, but it's only towards me. He will talk and joke and listen to anyone else but me. 20 years and he's still just awkward, she says. Not awkward enough to not sit and talk to my daughter though. So I defined a boundary. I don't want anyone that I feel disrespected by coming around my family behind my back. If I feel disrespected by someone, I want to address it and resolve it. If there can be no resolution, off forever. You don't need to be a part of our life. She obviously doesn't agree, but she also refused to try to resolve the situation between him and me.
I gotta tell you a funny story. So yesterday, my dog got diagnosed with cancer. My dog Pickles got diagnosed with cancer yesterday. I was a wreck. I was crying on the internet. I'm like, if anybody has a specialist, and like, because you know what they told me? They told me it's all over. You need to get a specialist, and we don't even know what kind of specialist you would need. I'm like, oh my god, like it's you know, and you just like the movie Marley and all that stuff was flashing through my mind. I'm like, oh my god. And like I like Pickles. I love him. I'm not gonna lie. I love him, but he's annoying. He gets on my nerves. And he be shedding, and he been pooping on my rug lately. He been peeing on my rug. It's washable. Shout out to Ruggable, but still, I don't want to deal with that. Like, I'm a single mom. Do you think I want to work and parent and then come home and deal with your ass? I don't. And dogs are supposed to give you something in return, right? Like peace, enjoyment, love. Never once have I thought to myself, I can't wait to go home and see my dog. Not once. Not one single time. Regardless, we've been through a lot. And just because, we be beefing sometimes doesn't mean I want him to die and suffer of cancer. So I was a mess, right? And the kids were like, what's wrong? And I was like, Pickles has owies. And I didn't know how to explain it to them. They're a mess. And the kids be on the same shit as me. They be like, Pickles, enough Pickles. All of a sudden he's their iPad screensaver and stuff. And they say you don't really get love until you die. And that's what it was giving. But I'm a little. And the surgery he was supposed to have was just a routine bladder stone removal. First of all, if I see people with dogs now, I'm just gonna assume they're rich because I went to go get a quote for it. Why was it $8,000 a fucking Chanel bag for a is that equivalent to a kidney stone for us? A bladder stone, $8,000. And if you rich and you got it like that to spend on a dog, a Chanel bag on a dog, then kudos to you. And I posted about it being $8,000, and this girl was like, if it's just financial issue, then say that, I was like, girl, it's financial. She didn't say nothing back. nonetheless, I didn't want any, I wouldn't let him suffer like that. I was just like, dude, I need a better price. Like, that's just incredible to spend that. And like, I was just talking shit about people who had GoFundMes for their animals, and not all animals, but like little Fifi, who's 15-year-old, got cataracts, can't see, can't walk. Like, I'm not putting my money towards that. Let them go. We're in a recession. We're all struggling. I'm not gonna lie. Lots of things were going through my mind. Because I'm like, you know what? If he has cancer, we're gonna have to make like a GoFundMe. Like, I can't let him die, but like, I don't got $50K to spend on my dog. Like, and then the internet never forgets things. So God forbid I tell a homeless person like, sorry, I don't got a thing. Like, bitch, I know, I seen your GoFundMe, broke ass bitch. I was thinking of all scenarios. Anyways, I was a mess yesterday. I was asking the internet, like, anybody have special in me? Long story short, they were like, we had to stop the surgery because he would have bled out, blah, blah, blah. We believe he has cancer. And, like, this is all cancer. It's all over, da, da, da. I'm like, oh my God. Like, and like, I was being like, Pickles, you're so fucking annoying. And he was dying and he just wanted love. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, I'm the worst person ever. We're about to go on a world tour. Like, we're about to do it big. Pickles, like, for real. Like, I'm so sorry. So the vet is like, okay, he has to come back into surgery the next day. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm praying for him. The kid's praying for him. Like, we're just stressed. So I'm feeling terrible. We take him in, right? And the vet just, so casually. And I want you to know that I believe in Jesus Christ. I believe in our Lord and Savior. And as God is my witness, this is what he said. He said, yeah, I don't think it's cancer anymore. Like, oops. I'm so sorry. What the fuck do you mean, oops? He said, yeah, it was just hot in the operating room yesterday. And I was in there for like 40 minutes just looking around. And, I was just sweating and I was just hot and sweaty. And I think I spoke too soon. I just know there's no way on God's green earth. You told us he had cancer. Cancer. The children are saying their final goodbyes. We are regretting everything. We planned a damn world tour for Pickles. For you to blame it on you being fucking sweaty. And like, yeah, I'm happy, but like, why would you tell somebody that? Like, wouldn't it be like the maybe up first and then like, oh, never mind? Or wouldn't you just not say anything until like you knew for sure? And he's like, well, I spoke to the radiologist. Motherfucker, I don't care. I don't care. Why would you say that? Why would you say that? I'm like, I just really have got to start accepting the fact that I am that friend who crazy shit happens to, like once in a lifetime type things happen to once a week. And sometimes I gotta check in with myself and I'm like, so is this real? And I gotta check with my friends and I'm like, do you believe me? Do you believe that this is really happening? Like, do you think I'm lying to you for a plot? Like, I'm gaslighting myself because I'm like, there's no way. My friends are like, what happened this week? I'm like, well, my dog got fake diagnosed with cancer, got a car accident, XYZ. And I'm like, what happened to you? They're like, nothing. Like, baby got like, a good health report at their pediatrician's appointment. I'm like, oh. And yeah, I didn't tell the kids that he doesn't have cancer, okay? Because you know what? This is the most love he's been giving. And he did have 2 surgeries. So like, he did go through something. So I'm just like, you know what? Alexa, play Survivor by Destiny's Child. And that's why you shouldn't trust any, especially men, I hate to say it, in position of power. Because you know what? I've had attorneys do me crazy. I've had doctors be weird. Even veterinarians. Like, why would you prey on my emotions like that?
Disturbing, 1,000,000%. Shocking, however, not at all. This is explained in just a girl language. What does that mean? That I'm just a girl, you're just a girl, and this is explained in a way that makes sense to me and hopefully to you too. That being said, everything said is alleged. We're not lawyers, we don't know, no one has been proven guilty, so everything I'm saying is alleged and available for you to find on the internet. Sean Combs is P. Diddy, is Puff Daddy, is Diddy, is PD, is Puffy, is Love. Those are all his nicknames, but his name is Sean Combs. Sean Combs has had allegations, rumors, drama, death, suspicion, suspicion surrounding him basically since the beginning of his career. By the end of 1993, Sean was around 24 years old when he was given his own label, Bad Boy Entertainment. Bad Boy becomes really successful with rappers like Biggie on the East Coast. On the West Coast, Death Row Records becomes really successful with rappers like Snoop Dogg and Tupac, thus making the West Coast rappers and the East Coast rappers enemies. September 13th, 1996, Tupac dies. His murder remains officially unsolved, but it has been rumored that Sean Combs played a part in that. March 9th, 1997, Biggie Smalls, one of Sean's best friends, was killed in LA. There are also rumors that Sean Combs was at the center of that. Throughout this time and until 2007, Sean would have an on and off relationship with model actress Kim Porter. They had kids together. That was from 1994 to 2007. In between that, Sean would date Jennifer Lopez from 1999 to 2001. In 1999, Sean and JLo were involved in an incident where a weapon went off and a woman was badly injured at a New York City nightclub. Sean Combs and JLo get arrested. JLo is not charged. Sean was charged, faced trial, but was acquitted of all charges. The woman that was injured at the nightclub, however, claims that Sean Combs was the one responsible. Allegedly, she sues Sean Combs. They settle for $130 million. In 2006, Sean hears singer Cassandra Ventura's first single, falls in love with it, signs her to his record label when she's only 19 years old and he's 38. Sean and Cassie get into a romantic relationship that would last until 2018. November 16th, 2023, Cassandra Ventura files a 35-page civil lawsuit against Sean Combs. In the lawsuit, she alleged a few things. First, that he abused her physically, emotionally, and sexually during their relationship, that he blew up Kid Cudi's car, that he tried to kill Suge Knight, who was former CEO of Death Row Records, and that he drugged her to force her to engage in acts with male workers, amongst other things. To backtrack, when Cassie and Sean first met before they got romantically involved, Sean was publicly dating Kim Porter and Cassie had a boyfriend of her own. When Cassie was first told that Sean was possibly interested in her, she was disgusted because of their age gap, but Sean was aware of the power dynamic and the control that he had over her because of her career, because she was signed to his record label. Sean would do what he could to get Cassie away from her boyfriend. He would force her to go to parties with him, claiming that they were for the record label, would force her to take do drugs until she was almost unconscious, more intoxicated than she's ever been, and then he would have sex with her. Sean Combs maintained professional, financial, and sexual control over Cassie, and to make sure that she complied and she did not try to fight anything, he would give her drugs consistently. Cassie said drugs, medications, and were always around, always open, and she described them to be like candy. Cassie began experiencing memory loss due to everything that was in her system, as well as the physical harm that Sean Combs exposed her to, and because Sean wanted to have control over that too, he would have all of Cassie's medical records sent to him instead of her. Throughout their entire relationship, Cassie was covered in bruises and injuries as a result of Sean's behavior to her. To avoid any accusations or questions being asked, Sean would force Cassie to stay locked away in a hotel room or in his home until her injuries went away. There are years of situations and instances showing how violent, aggressive, and controlling Sean Combs was to Cassie, including the 2016 hotel video camera footage in LA showing Cassie attempting to run away, Sean chasing after her. The video is horrendous. You can look it up. Cassie claims not only were the employees and staff that worked for Sean aware of what was happening, but essentially they helped him cover all of it up. Now we get to the arrangements that Sean Combs calls freak-offs. The first time this happened was months into him and Cassie's relationship. Sean Combs hired a man, brought him to his house in LA, directed the man to perform acts with his girlfriend as they all wore masquerade masks. Sean Combs played himself as he watched, and he recorded the acts. Sean Combs would demand these freak-offs all of the time at random times at his residences or at hotel rooms that he would destroy. His staff would be responsible for facilitating these freak-offs, flying sex workers in and out of the cities. If Sean requested a specific person, his staff would provide, making sure that there were more than enough for everyone. And the freak-offs got so intense, so violent, and disgusting that it was common practice afterwards for Cassie to get IV fluids in the following days plural, to recover from the extensive that were pushed onto her. Almost every single freak-off was recorded by Sean Combs. Cassie was reportedly repulsed by Sean's actions in the freak-offs, but she was so petrified of him she felt as if she could not refuse. One time in 2015, following a freak-off, Cassie and Sean meet Cassie's friends at a hotel room. One of her friends says something that angers Sean. He grabs her friend, drags her over to the balcony, and dangles her by her ankle over the balcony of the 17th floor hotel suite. Cassie was reportedly so sedated from the freak-off that she was unable to respond to Sean's terrifying behavior. It was also common practice for Sean Combs to gift Cassie presents following a freak off as his way of apologizing, I guess. At one point, Sean had given her so many designer bracelets that Cassie claimed she felt shackled by his presence. Believe it or not, that is not even scratching the tip of the iceberg of what Cassandra Ventura mentioned in her lawsuit against Sean Combs. But she files the lawsuit in 2023. They settle overnight, just one day after the case is settled out of court for an undisclosed amount. But it seems like that just opened up floodgates for what Sean Combs would be accused of. In March of this year, 2024, Homeland Security agents show up with search warrants at his residences in both Miami and LA. They raid his houses, leaving with a massive amount of physical evidence. Monday, September 16, 2024, rapper Sean P. Diddy Combs is arrested at the Park Hyatt Hotel in New York. He's charged with racketeering, conspiracy, and transportation to engage in prostitution. Okay, so the 14-page indictment detailing the charges against Sean Combs has been unsealed, meaning we now know or have a better idea, allegedly, of what the prosecution, the Southern District of New York, thinks they will be able to prove in federal court. Also interesting that this is happening in federal court, because I think charges in federal court carry harsher punishments than if this was happening in, say, a state court. And that court, specifically the Southern District of New York, their conviction rate is 95%, meaning when they go after someone or when they choose to file a case, it's pretty safe to say that they feel confident in the evidence that they have and that they have done their homework. The day after he gets arrested, during a hearing, Sean Combs pleads not guilty. With his charges, he's facing a minimum of 15 years to life in prison. The indictment, which by the way is available for you if you just Google it, you can read it, the 14 pages, basically discusses in details the charges, the allegations, the incidents described, witness testimonies, and legal proceedings indicating potential next steps from the prosecution and or the defense. The first paragraph of said indictment says, for decades, Sean Combs, aka Puff Daddy, aka P. Diddy, aka Diddy, aka PD, aka Love, the defendant, abused, threatened, and coerced women and others around him to fulfill his desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct. To do so, Combs relied on the employees, resources, and the influence of multi-business empires that he led and controlled, creating a criminal enterprise whose members and associates engaged in and attempted to engage in, amongst other crimes, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. Now, Combs Enterprises is a company founded by Sean Combs. It's the umbrella company, and under it are different businesses and investments. From music, fashion, marketing, film, television, media, etc. A lot of businesses are housed under the umbrella that is Combs Enterprises. Based on the indictment, although no one else is named besides Sean Combs, allegations mentioned in the indictment match up almost exactly with previous civil lawsuits against Sean Combs, including Cassie Ventura's lawsuit. Even though no other people are named, if you know or if you have heard from people who have filed lawsuits against Sean, you can kind of see what victims or instances were the basis of the charges now. We also know that the government has conducted interviews with over 50 victims and witnesses, and they have stated that they only continue that number to grow. The government has also seized more than 90 cell phones, laptops, cloud storage accounts, hard drives, thumb drives, cameras, surveillance systems that they have said show criminal activity. The racketeering conspiracy charge is basically saying that there is a group of people involved in organized crime. The freak-offs are specifically mentioned in detail, including Sean's actions in the freak-offs and how his employees helped to facilitate them. His employees allegedly were responsible for booking hotel rooms for the freak-offs, stocking them with supplies such as baby oil, lighting. When the hotel rooms got damaged, his staff helped clean it up. The indictment states that the freak-offs happened often, sometimes even lasted days, and it points out that the victims were given to keep them obedient and compliant. During the raids of his houses in Miami and LA, law enforcement seized various freak-off supplies, which you can imagine what those were. Also, just recently, I saw a video late last night of, apparently, I didn't fact check this, but secret tunnels found underneath Sean's house, and I saw that those secret tunnels led to 6 locked rooms. I don't know if that's true, but if so, that's terrifying. That's a little info on the prosecution, what they believe that they can prove, and the evidence that they have, etc. Now, the defense team, they tried their hardest to get Sean Combs out on bail. They provided a bail package to the court stating why Sean Combs should be released awaiting trial. In their bail package, they were proposing a lot of things, but they were proposing a $15 million bond. They claimed that Sean Combs has been cooperative. They stated that he was apparently in town because he knew that there were charges being filed against him. And that was his way of saying, look, I'll cooperate, I won't flee, I won't run away, I'm not going to try and leave. They also proposed that he would surrender his passport as a way to further say that he was not going to try and flee and he just wanted to be in house arrest. His defense team also said that the raids, the way they raided his houses, was a little bit unnecessary. And at the end of their letter, they wrote, Sean Combs has never evaded, avoided, eluded, or ran from a challenge in his life. He will not start now. As he has handled every hardship, he will meet this case head on. He will work hard to defend himself and he will prevail. The prosecution also writes a letter to the judge further explaining their side as to why Sean should not be let out on bail. They're saying, cool, he wants to be on house arrest. Well, a lot of the crimes have happened inside of his house, so that's not really going to do anything for us. And in their letter, they're saying, look at what he has done. Look at the nature of his crimes that are violent and serious, because they are showing the lengths that Sean Combs will go to get what he wants. They say if he is released, he remains a serious risk of flight. And most glaringly, Sean Combs also poses a significant risk of obstructing justice. Obstructing justice, I think, means that they're trying to say if he gets out, he has the chance to try and destroy evidence, to get rid of evidence, to talk to people, maybe witnesses, to try and hide more information, try to pay people off to stay quiet. If he gets out, he might do something to get in the way of the case, basically. Sean Combs has been denied bail twice now, and the trial is probably so far away. I don't think it's going to be a trial that we get to see on TV. I'm pretty sure the federal court does not allow audio or video recording in court, so I don't think that we will directly see any part of his trial. As far as who is involved, who has been to his parties but just attended the parties versus who has taken and can be held responsible for participating in the criminal activities, I mean, there are names being thrown out left and right, but I think that it all just depends on the digital evidence. Because imagine in federal court, someone is trying to prove something and they have video to prove that. I don't really see how you'll be able to argue against that. I don't know, pretty crazy though. I didn't do like a deep dive. I just wanted it to explain in literally like just a girl terms to make it, I think, easier for you guys to understand if you were having a hard time. I know there's so many things about this all over social media, but Sean Combs sucks.
Am I the asshole for checking out of my relationship after my wife said she wished I had a bigger dick, but we don't always get what we want? My wife, 34 female, and I, 34 male, have been married for 8 years, and we have a 5-year-old son. Over the past few months, my wife and I have occasionally been having arguments on finances. The main argument we've been having is that I want to take our family out on a vacation to a different state, but my wife wants to save up so we can travel abroad next year. Last month, my wife and I were having an argument again about this, and I was telling her a vacation would be really good for our family and our son. We talked back and forth, and I could sense my wife was getting exasperated, but I stood my ground. I told her we could take a vacation now and we could also go abroad next year. And my wife just lost her cool and said that the finances made that impractical and that she also wished I had a bigger dick. But in life, we don't always get what we want. That stung me. I am aware I have an average sized dick, but I've never had any complaints from anyone on it until now. And to hear it from my wife, it just numbed me. I then checked out of the conversation, and my wife instantly apologized after she said that. I told her it was okay, and then I went to sleep. From the next day on, however, I distanced myself from my wife and just focused on work and my son. My wife tried to initiate a conversation and apologize multiple times, but I usually just ignored her or told her to let it go. I also started eating out as I did not want to eat my wife's dinner. My wife initiated sex one night and I told her to get off me. My birthday was a few days ago and I ignored my wife when she wished me a happy birthday and when she tried to kiss me. We didn't do anything for my birthday. And when my wife gave me a gift, which was packaged with also a handwritten letter, I told her to return it. I have no idea what was the gift or what was written in the letter, and I really don't care. I am at my limit now, and I know this is not healthy or sustainable. So I have seriously started considering divorce, but I also wanted to get an opinion from the people I trusted most in the world, my 2 siblings. My brother thinks I should at least consider marriage counseling first before proceeding with divorce, as he doesn't think this is worth jumping straight to divorce for. My sister has the opposite opinion, and she thinks I'm still young and fit and I have a long life ahead of me, and it should be very easy for me to get someone who's much more beautiful than my wife, both on the exterior and the interior. Am I the asshole for checking out of my relationship and considering divorce?
Am I wrong for contacting my ex-best friend's mom after he didn't stop? Didn't stop what? We gotta know. My best friend Houston, 19 male, and I, 18 female, have known each other for as long as I can remember. Both our families are really Christian, which led us both to being in the same school as kids. Growing up, we used to go to various parks or playgrounds together and hang out. In addition, our parents became close friends, allowing us to spend more time together. However, in late 2016, my mother passed away, which caused us to have little contact. Around 2019, we stopped all communication. We haven't talked since. Now, fast forward to this year when I just graduated high school. While looking through some old photos, I came across some of me and Houston when we were together in school. Me being curious, I decided to try and find him. After a while of searching, I managed to find Houston's Insta. I sent him a small message, and as a result, I got a reply and we started talking. We started out simple by asking questions like, "How are you?" or "Is your family still doing this or that?" Not long after, we started playing a question game. Our game consisted of each setting a number, followed by a response to the question linked to that number. One thing though is that some of these numbers he asked were incredibly personal questions, the type of questions you wouldn't ask someone you just started talking to after years of having no contact. We kept playing, but soon he started to ask those personal questions. It started simple like, "What is your sexuality?" or "Do you have any kinks?" It soon got more personal as time went on through, which made me uncomfortable. I asked him to stop, and he did for a bit, but not long after he started at it again, making me even more uncomfortable than before. This is where I might be the asshole. I found his mom's Insta as well. He follows her, and me getting an idea, I messaged her. I started off simple, just getting to know her again and catching up on things that happened over the past 4 or 5 years. Once we caught up some, I knew I could trust her, and I put my plan into action. I explained to her about the question Houston was asking me and how I asked him to stop, but he didn't. At first, she started asking questions herself like when and how. She questioned me for a bit, but soon she got all of the info she could out of me about the subject. After that, it went quiet. About an hour later, though, I received a message from her. Turns out, she checked his laptop and found and read all of the messages between him and me. He forgot or didn't even think about deleting them. She thanked me for telling her and told me she would have a talk with him about this. I got a text from him not long after telling me I was for getting his mom involved. He told me I could have just blocked him if I was that uncomfortable with what he was asking, and because of me, he got into trouble. I feel bad now because I could have blocked him and left it at that. I didn't need to get his mom involved at all. So, am I the asshole here?
Am I the asshole for making a scene when my brother's girlfriend tried to protect her peace? I don't know how to title the post. I do apologize. My son is 11 months old, a 97th percentile for height. He is a big-ass baby, currently 36 inches tall, or about the size of your average 2.5-year-old, and he is already wearing 3 toddler clothing. However, despite him being so big, he is still just a baby, and most of his nutrition is still from breast milk. For the 4th, we had a big family cookout, and my brother invited his girlfriend. I live out of state, and I didn't want my flights to be too close together, so I'm staying a bit longer. My brother and his girlfriend are doing the same thing. My family is aware that my son is a baby, obviously, but my brother's girlfriend was not, and was initially very shocked when she saw him misbehaving. We explained that he's still a baby, so he's still just exploring the world. She remained uncomfortable, but we mostly avoided each other. Because he's so big, feeding him is a chore, so I use an armchair as there isn't enough support elsewhere, so there isn't much I can do about covering up. He gets sweaty under all the blankets and won't eat. It's been a tense couple of weeks. Last night, I think we both kind of lost it. My son needed feeding and she was in the chair. I asked her if she could move, which she whined about, but did get up. Everything was fine for another hour or so until she demanded my brother pay for her to go to a hotel for the remaining nights because she can't cope with me and the baby. He asked what she meant, and she said that he's clearly big enough to be on real food, and I enjoy making her uncomfortable by feeding him in front of her. I got embarrassingly upset and told her that she should keep her mouth shut because she clearly doesn't know the first thing about parenting and certainly doesn't know anything about me or my son. We argued the same points for a little more until my son woke up from his nap and I left to collect him. She then, after telling us all loudly that she needs to protect her peace, which honestly is not a phrase I thought was real until she said it, my brother told me I was being immature and he left with her. My dad is on my side, but did tell me I should have removed myself from the situation as I'm a grown woman and she's still a teenager. I'm 3 years older than her, so I think that's bullshit. My mom is neutral, but is still trying to convince my brother to come home and ended up paying for their hotel. She thinks I could have been a lot more understanding.
My husband cheated on me, so I got his whole office to watch. Story time. So me and my husband Mark have always been okay. Our relationship's been fine. He's just always been very, very career driven, which I'm just not. I've always wanted a house. I've always wanted a family, to like be in a happy marriage, which I am or was. I just didn't really care too much about the corporate ladder, whereas Mark, that's all he ever wanted in life. Now, a few weeks prior to this happening, he started acting weird. Like, he was hiding his phone, which is something we've never done. He was working even more than normal. And if there's one thing to know about Mark, is that he cares about the opinion of his co-workers. I've always wanted to be made out to be this macho, tough guy. I don't know, like, he wanted to be known as, like, the man. Anyway, we had this like summer spring party thing with his work. And I don't really see his work colleagues too often. However, when I walked in, everyone was giving me this like weird look, like, you know, when you could just sense it. Obviously, a little time goes by, I've made my way around everyone, and I go to speak to this guy. Let's call him Daniel. And Daniel goes to me, "I'm surprised you're here today." And I know it's only little, but I was kind of shocked why he said that. Like, Mark's wife, why do you think I'm here? Anyway, thank God I questioned it, because he said, "I just know my wife wouldn't let me cheat on her and then be seen in public with me if she chose to stay with me." You can imagine my jaw dropped and how the rest of that conversation went. A bit of time passes, and obviously I start planning and plotting some revenge, because you're not cheating on me and getting away with it. So basically, Mark wasn't working extra hours. He was actually working less hours, apparently. And he had been spending nights and days with this mystery woman. And apparently he was boasting that he brought this woman to our home and took her to our bedroom whilst I was at work. So my next move was to plant a camera. And by doing this, I happened to catch my husband and his mistress in the act. So I phoned up my good new friend Daniel. "Can you make sure this memory stick is put in every single computer in the office?" By the time Monday morning came, everybody clocked into work. First thing they would see is Mark having fun with this random woman, this man.